guys, so this tutorial will mainly focus on how to actually add in custom objects to Graal, to the actual server. So for example, how you can add this tree, this model, how you can add the player, and really everything from Unity to actual Graal. Now, will always work on the Worlds client only, not just on 3D, but also in 2D. But we're just gonna showcase it here in 3D just to get a feel for it and just to have a more observative showcase. So let's hop in Unity and start with the basics. The really most important building block in Unity is the game object. Everything you throw in the scene is, well, a game object. For example, the camera is a game object. If I want to create empty, I create an empty game object. I can of course name it, for example, test, but it's a game object. Now, the cool thing about Unity is that the entire game development process just boils down to one simple phrase. It's manipulating game object. So, for example, let's say I create a game object, a cube, or a sphere. I can call this sphere my bullet, and then I can make it move. Where I make it move fast, slow, where it spawns, where it gets, if it touches something, I can just do the damage and everything. That's basically how Unity works, and it's all based on a game object. A cool thing about game objects is that it holds components. You can see that the bullet has way more stuff than the empty game object in the inspector. Well, we'll dive more into components later, but really, if you want, it's just like the data this game object holds, in a way. Now, it's fun and all, but we really want to actually manipulate them in GraalScript 2. Now, spawning just cubes, spawning squares is really simple. They can also be done with a function from GraalScript 2, so this is really not interesting. The best way to actually spawn anything from Unity to GraalScript 2 is to actually transform it to a prefab. Something amazing about Unity is the way they actually instantiate, create game object dynamically. So for example, look at this bullet object. Now, it's just a sphere. But say I want to make it a bit more dynamic. So let's add a cube on top of the sphere. Let's make it move a bit. So yeah, that's my bullet. So now if I move the bullet, both will move at the same time. So that's my special model, let's say, for this example. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag this game object, this special custom model, let's say, into the external Graal asset bundle folder, or really into any project folder that you want. I'm just taking this one for example. Then, now we have created a prefab. You can see how it lights up blue. So, right now we have this bullet. Now I can just take this bullet and just spawn it in. Now we have another one. I can take it, just another one. And basically just spawn it as we want. And from that, we can take this prefab and spawn it into GraalScript 2. Now to really do that is simple. Well, of course, not just limited to prefabs. Prefabs are just the models. You can always spawn in other things, for example, animation controller, but these are more advanced stuff. For now, let's keep it simple. We're gonna go for the bullet itself, the prefab itself. So we're gonna select the prefab, go to the inspector, and press this little drop down next to asset bundle. We're gonna call it something new. For example, if it doesn't work, just restart the process, and it will. For example, my bullet test. This will be my bundle name. The capitals will automatically go to lowercase because capitals will not be understood by GraalScript 2. So now I have my bullet test. How am I gonna actually get it into GraalScript 2? Well, it's simple. We're gonna use the special feature of the Unity project, the build asset bundles. We're gonna press it, go to package builder, and you're gonna see a lot of options here. So since Graal is on multiple platform and was on multiple platform, every single platform understands the code differently. So we need to create the same bundle for every single platform. Now for testing purposes, just create on the platform you're testing, in this case Windows, and then just build for every single platform when you have the final asset bundle and you're ready to just upload everything. So now we build for Windows. And done. After the wait, should be rather quick or rather long depending on the amount of asset bundle, it actually will compile every single asset inside the project and then throw them in the folder streaming assets. Right here, if I search, yep, my bullet test PC. That means it's loaded for Windows and is my bullet test. Now how to upload it is simple. We're gonna go to RC3, click this little icon to open all the folders, file browser basically. Go to levels, asset bundles, then take the bundle right here and just drag and drop it. Now the bundle has been uploaded, the bundle is currently on the server. We just have to use it from GraalScript 2. Now that we have our asset bundle on the server, in this case testbed3d, we're going to need to actually spawn it in. The first step to spawning it in is actually loading the asset bundle. So basically telling GraalScript, or the client in this case, just, okay, I want to load this and check all the files inside. Yes, an asset bundle can not just be one prefab, it can be a folder. And from this folder have like a couple of prefabs. For example, if you want the player, you're gonna have a prefab for the head, prefab for the body. It really depends on how you want to structure and create an architecture. And yeah, so the way to actually spawn the way to actually tell GraalScript 2 to read and unpack, if you want, this asset bundle is using these two commands. They both do the same thing, but one may be accessible on some servers while the other is not. One may be faster, one may be more accurate and have the latest version. So this one, the asset manager.load asset bundle, is the better version, but the line above does actually work and can be used if the asset manager does not work. Now, loading an asset bundle is actually a process that happens asynchronously. So it's not just when we use this line of code, it's going to automatically load it, because there's a lot of variables. For example, if the client has not downloaded the file, maybe it's too big, so it's going to take a bit of time. And thus, we cannot just continue with our code. That's why it's being downloaded in the background. And when the download finishes, it will call a specific function called function on asset bundle downloaded. It takes in an asset bundle name. And simply put, this function will be called with the name of the bundle that was downloaded. So if we leave it like that, it will always trigger on every single bundle download, not just the my bullet test. For example, when another script downloads the player character, it will also call this function in this script. So the way to bypass it is use an if statement and just check that the asset bundle is equal to the asset we want. In this case, my bullet test. So now we have that. We want to actually spawn this weird little bullet that we created. The way to do it is to actually instantiate the prefab. That's how Unity does it. It's very simple. So we're just going to create .bullet. It's a new variable just to store it. We're going to use object to call them instantiate and open the brackets. What is the instantiate object? It's of type game object. Okay, simple enough. But the second argument will be a prefab loaded from the asset bundle. So we're going to go for game object from asset bundle. We're going to give it the asset bundle, which is my bullet test. And remember when I told you that you can actually create a folder and give it and have multiple objects? So the way this asset bundle loader understand which one we're actually getting from the asset bundle object, we're going to give it the path of the object. Hopping into Unity, we can see that the bullet has specific path, which is assets, external Graal asset bundles, bullet.prefab. So we're going to take this path and write here. Now we're gonna have the bullet spawning. Now, for simplicity and easy of clarity of seeing, we're gonna do a quick manipulation of the bullet and actually spawn it on top of the player. So don't really mind what I'm doing right here. It will make sense later on. But it's just really saying that I want to take the position of the bullet and go to the player position, take it, and copy it just to make it the same. And now I just change a bit the position of the cube just not be exactly on the player. But when we press apply, yep, we see our bullet spawn above the player. And now since we actually manipulate the position to be here, we can still move. It's still gonna be here because it's spawn. But imagine something else. Now, if we go right here and add function on update, and actually copy this line of code, and then when the actual bullet spawns, we go with this dot keep alive equal to true. Now when I hit apply, yeah, the problem was basically we were using temporary variables when we had to use this variables. Now when we hit apply, as you can see, the bullet is following the player. Now we can imagine this actually being a halo, for example, an angel cosmetic, or horns, which are actually pixel perfect on the head of the player. And really, this is very limitless. So yeah, these are basically game objects and how to actually spawn them inside of GraalScript 2. Well, this was a bit simple on just how to spawn them, but the actual core of Unity developing, and in this case GraalScript 2 3D developing or using the world's engine, is just like manipulating these game objects. Now to give you a scope of what these game objects can do, well, some game objects can be particle system, actually creating specific effects and everything that just go on a loop with animations. Other objects can be just walls, like a tree, like a car, with physics colliders and movement going on and out. Other game objects can be sound effects. For example, just game objects you put in the world and they would generate sound. And when you get closer to it, the sound gets stronger. When you get farther from it, the sound would get weaker. And really, these aren't made examples that just come to my head. But yeah, there's very much a lot of things you can do with game objects in Unity. I would highly recommend you do some research on that if you're really interested in it. And if you really have any questions on how the whole process works and everything, the Discord community will always be there to guide you and will always be there to answer your questions.